All right, we are back, guys. We are here. I'm Cam. This is David. We are here to recap Big Brother All Stars 2, episode 10. So, how did you feel about this episode today?
I mean, it was just the clinic Big Brother 101 by the six-person faction, the committee, I think they're called. So, yeah, everything went their way, and it was just a overall solid showing for all of them, but I'd say probably Memphis, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, so the committee is Cody, Memphis, and Nicole, correct?
Yes, Cody, Memphis, Nicole, and then I think Tyler, Dani, and Memphis, Nicole, Tyler, Dani, and I'm forgetting someone else, but it's it's a six-person faction.
Yeah. There's so many different alliances right now. Like, I have them written down somewhere, but like if I were to go look at them, by the time I got through them all, there'd be two more new ones. So I'm starting to forget some of these dang names.
Yeah.
Who is the bald guy? I don't know.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, I don't have a lot of hair, and you don't have a lot of hair, so it could be either one of us. I don't know. But
they're saying the commission. I thought that was the final two with Memphis and Cody. Is that correct?
That's the commission, right? Yeah, the final two with Cody and Memphis is the commission. I'm pretty sure Nicole is the third wheel in the committee, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, that's beside the point. So we'll go ahead. We'll get into the episode. The episode opens up with America's favorite player, Nicole Franzel, basically saying that Janelle being on the block and possibly going home is karma for talking bad about Nicole. I mean, how she seems like she doesn't have a grasp on reality, on what's really happening. It's almost like she's created this thing in her head, and she's projecting it as if it's real when it's not. And she's got other people convinced.
Right. And I guess this also could be in part due to like the edit manipulating the narrative, because it is more like two-sided than it is. I feel like they're trying to make Nicole seem as if she's like some hero overcoming the villain Janelle. As I stated in like the last recap we did, I think this has to do with something that happened with their Amazing Race season. But yeah, I mean, she just doesn't have a good grasp for this whole thing. I mean, both of them have been equally disgusting to each other, and I mean, it's just very annoying seeing Nicole get her way so much, and the way she smugly acts like it. Right. Yeah.
It blows my mind. If I was in the house and somebody was going around whining that much, it would ruin the experience for me. It really would.
Right, and there seems to be multiple people doing that this season. I mean, Nicole's not the only one. Kevin, he's been whining a lot so far, so it definitely deteriorated the overall experience for me if I was in the house with them.
Right. So she basically says that's karma. Nobody's seen it. That's something she's made up. She's got Dani bought into this. She tried to get Bayleigh to buy into this. She's got a lot of her alliance bought into this. The only person that is in her, like I feel, that is close to her, that's not buying into this Janelle talking about Nicole thing is really Tyler, right? Because Tyler said that he put them up, Kaysar and Janelle, because they're big targets. Not because of anything else they've done. They're just big targets, which I can respect that.
Right, and they were also throwing his name around. He used that excuse, I guess, in his nomination speech. And I mean, it makes sense, you know. It's kind of like hit or get hit. So he's just taking the first shot before they come to get him because, as he stated, like, they're all big targets, so he's just getting two people out of his way that he feel are going to be tough to beat in the end. Textbook Big Brother.
Right. One of them, you know, I kind of agree at this point. Like, one of them has to go if you're in the house, but the one that stays is going to be very powerful, I feel like, as far as people are going to be grasping them, trying to get them to bring them in because they have nobody else, right?
Right. The only thing is, if Janelle stays, as we saw in this episode, the whole Janelle and Bayleigh friendship has kind of developed, which I'm sure we'll get into. So, yeah, I mean, Janelle has maybe Bayleigh, and with Bayleigh comes probably Davon and maybe others such as like Enzo, kind of like the outsiders of the house. Oh, yeah, she also played with Ian in 14, so maybe she can leverage that connection. So,
right.
If Janelle stays at the end of the week, I feel like there's maybe a chance she can make it out safe to possibly make jury, but both of them have an uphill battle from this point forward, whoever stays, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I really like the montage that they kind of put together where they said that, you know, Janelle and Kaysar have been nominated together 4 separate times. So basically when they're in the house, they're consistently, their backs are against the wall. Like they're inseparable. Everybody knows it. And they acknowledged it. They said, when we're together, we have a bond that's inseparable and there's nothing we can do about it. It's just something we've got to work through.
Right. And it's like Jess and Cody on steroids from BB19. I mean, just those two people, Janelle and Kaysar in this instance, they're just targeted every time they play together. And they kind of seem to take it as a compliment, which is true. I mean, they're just so threatening. They're, as you compared them to Chilltown, I feel like they're similar to Chilltown, where people just gravitate toward them and like you want to be around them and like play this game with them. And that's what makes them so threatening. Right.
So they go through that whole thing where, Kaysar and Janelle, they have their moment. And then you have Davon. What is she doing? Like, what is her deal with playing both sides here?
Yeah, I mean, I understand what she's doing. Like, she's just trying to stay in the good graces with Janelle and Kaysar, but she has to realize, is it really worth it? Not necessarily, because at the end of the week now, there's only going to be one of them left, and it's not like she has to do damage control with them to begin with, because she did nothing to get on their bad side. I mean, we all know who's probably going to go up if either of them wins HOH. It's the it's the last Nicole remaining in the house probably. So yeah, she didn't need to do too much there, but I guess it can't hurt.
Yeah, but if you're brought into somebody's alliance or you're trying to build trust with somebody, the last thing you want to do is go in there and be like, hey, try to play it up. Don't put me up on the block. I'm your best friend. I don't think that's the move. I think the move is just be cool, hang out with them. The targets are clear. There's no debate on who the targets are in the house. Like they know it's going to be one of those two that are on the block currently, but Veto hasn't been played, but currently it's one of those two. So I don't see the point in going up there and trying to smooth that over. And then even worse, going to the 2 nominees and like trying to cozy up to them. So that doesn't make sense to me. Like you should have just sat back, to me, in my opinion, just sat back and let the week play out.
And that's a good point because, Janelle and Kaysar, if they wanted to, they definitely could have used that as ammunition, saying that she's playing both sides and then just taking that to her core alliance. So I guess you could say, I mean, at least from the edit showed us, she kind of dodged a bullet there.
Yeah, and I think, again, guys, I know I say this every time we get on here, but I don't watch the live feeds. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong in chat, I don't think Kaysar and Janelle have gone all out nuclear like they could have in order to place targets on other people. I think there's opportunities with this cast, how weak they are with their alliances and how like they're not very strong. There's not a lot of very strong players, I don't feel like, in this game. I think Janelle and Kaysar probably could have attacked really hard 2 or 3 people as far as their game is concerned and really put a target on them to where if the veto was won by one of them or somebody else, there's a chance they could come off. I don't feel like they put that massive of an effort into doing that.
Right. And I would say that's accurate. Again, like I've said, if I see feeds, it's like those little YouTube clips. And from what I've been hearing, I guess like Kaysar and Janelle are just kind of like not conceding per se, but they're just like maybe not campaigning as hard as they should. So that is definitely interesting. And I just think that speaks to what we were talking about in the last recap with like how to play old school Big Brother versus how to play new school Big Brother. Whereas new school players are more impulsive and will do anything really to stay. And old school is just kind of more laid back and chill. So I feel like that dynamic played out there.
Yeah. And just responding to Reality Rob there with Davon. I think the problem is in the Big Brother community and even in production, they have this misconception of what an all-star is. They think just because you're a memorable player, that makes you an all-star. That doesn't make you an all-star if you're a memorable player. An all-star is somebody who goes out there, has strategic moves that further them in the game, do crazy things nobody's ever done to further themselves in the game, win competitions to keep themselves in the game. Those are all-stars. People who come in and just have big personalities but aren't very good at the game, those aren't all-stars to me.
Right, and I would say just switching over to Survivor for a second, besides the awful Game Changer season, I feel like they've always gotten casting right with that show in terms of like returning seasons where they always get players to fit the theme. But with Big Brother, the casting when it comes to returning players, it's a bit more, I guess, flexible in the sense that they consider all-stars people who played at least once. Because, I mean, me and you and probably a lot of other people in the Big Brother community can agree David's not an all-star. I mean, we all agree he probably should have gotten a second chance based on what happened last season, but he does not deserve to be in this all-star house, as Memphis kind of harshly told him last week. But yeah, this is just like the difference in casting, because I would say, yeah, there's a decent amount of truly all-star caliber players on this cast, but I mean, you're right. It's full of a lot of people who maybe would have been better suited in like a second chance season. And I've always liked Avon and her personality. Like, I think she's given some of the greatest DRs the game's ever seen. Like, she's just such a fun personality to watch. But gameplay wise, she kind of blew up her game not once but twice. So I can agree in the sense that she's not an all-star in that way. But we'll see how the rest of this goes with her. But
fan favorite. I mean, if they want to put on a season and say these are America's favorites. Like, if Davon was on there, I'd have zero issue because everybody loves her. That's seen her play. She's one of the most popular players to ever play. But saying she's an all-star, that's different to me. But we'll go ahead. We'll move on. Janelle thinks there's going to be a battle back. I hope there's. I'm torn with this because I hope there's not, because I like the pure game where you're out, you're out. I don't like all these things where you can get out and come back in. It's just a time filler because those people always get voted right back out. Or I'm sorry, like 95% of the time. But
unless you're Nicole Franzel's husband, Victor Arroyo.
He got evicted 3 times in one season, didn't he?
Right. He made it far. Like, he had a good second stint, but yeah, I mean, 3 times in one season, that's nothing really to be proud of.
Right. And I hope, and it sucks because that might affect, Janelle as far as how hard she plays, because if she thinks that there's a battle back, then she may not be willing to, throw Kaysar. She would never throw Kaysar under, but campaign against Kaysar or, that kind of thing. So I hope she doesn't think that, and I hope there's not a battle back. But if there is, and Janelle goes home, I'm pulling for her,
Right.
So Janelle then goes and talks to Bayleigh. And do you kind of want to go over that, how that conversation went?
Yeah, so she's just kind of, as I said at the beginning of the recap, just kind of leveraging this relationship that she has with Bayleigh. Bayleigh even says in her DR that they've become close when they've been have-nots, and Janelle just is hoping that if she can't win the veto, she hopes Bayleigh gets to play, and she'll use the veto on Janelle. So I think this is the right approach because, you can't really approach anyone from like that Slick Six or the commission, whatever the alliances are called. We keep getting them confused, but you can't really approach anyone from those groups because they're just so tight knit and no one's going to try and rock the boat. So Janelle has the right idea in approaching the outsider here in Bayleigh, and Bayleigh says she's not going to commit to using the veto, but honestly, if Janelle, as I said, can't win the veto here, Bayleigh winning is probably the second best thing to happen for her game.
Right. And I think she chose the only person that she could probably pull over,
Right.
It just so happens that person had just previously been brought into another alliance.
Exactly.
If Janelle would have been able to do that maybe 2 or 3 days prior, she may have had somebody there, her and Davon, and then she has something to work with, right? So, But yeah, so Bayleigh responded, right? She said she likes Janelle. She'd like to use it on Janelle, but she has to see how it works out, with her game. So she's not going to ruin her game for somebody who's going to be a target every week. That just makes you a target every week too, So,
exactly. Right.
And then we go, and this is my complaint for the episode. I'm a huge Dani fan. I love Dani. What is she doing? Like, she's in all the alliances. She's in every room. And she's not on anybody's radar. And she's planting seeds to bust people up.
See, I actually kind of like this move. I feel like this is like the first time we're ever disagreeing on something, but I somewhat like this move in the sense as long as it doesn't come back to bite her, because we've seen in past seasons where as soon as players compare notes, like we saw it at the end of BB19 where everyone compared notes about Paul lying. We saw it in Tyler's season where everyone compared notes about Tyler's final twos. I like the idea of Dani planting these seeds like, oh, Enzo's just along for the ride. He's going to ride on the social game. Tyler's too good at this game. He needs to go pretty soon. Davon and Bayleigh are a tight couple, and they're going to be tough to take down the road. I like the idea of planting these seeds to get people thinking like pretty soon we're going to need to break up this alliance, because she at least has Nicole F on her side. But again, if these people, maybe it's a little too early because she is in a great spot in all the alliances, as you stated. So maybe it's a little too early to be planting these seeds to break up potentially down the road. But as long as everyone doesn't compare notes, maybe it's not the worst thing in the world to get people thinking, like, let's get them out instead of me. So I kind of understand where Dani's coming from, but it's a high risk, high reward kind of move.
Yeah, Cam. I mean, she's in my opinion, and granted you differ a little bit, but in my opinion, she's overstepping. Like I agree, it's too early. It's way too early. She did the same thing in her season in BB 13 when she had the vets and the newbies, where she had the vets. She wasn't good. She wasn't a target. She was safe. She had the golden key. She was safe for a while, but she just couldn't help herself. And she started going in and talking about people and dropping seeds and saying, I'm going to flip this house. Like it seems like it's a leak in her game. And it's something that she doesn't necessarily know that she's doing. She thinks she's doing something good. She's just not aware that it could negatively affect her. Now, if she was choosing, to me, just one or two people to like basically plant seeds on and for later in the season, that's fine. But it looks to me like she's just sporadically spraying, just trying to negatively affect anybody. It doesn't seem very strategic to me. It just seems kind of, in fact, I wrote down reckless. I think it's a little bit reckless.
Right. And I can understand both sides of it. And I will say she seems to be the only player so far who has a good read on Tyler, because it seems like everyone's starting to drink the Kool-Aid again from Tyler, if you will, which is what happened in Big Brother 20. So I will applaud her for trying to see, or saying in her DR, like, Tyler needs to go pretty soon. So again, we'll see. But the fact that you go.
If you want to do that in your DR, that's totally fine. Like if you want to win your game in your DR and say, hey, I'm going to plant seeds here, here, and here, I'm going to negatively affect this person, that's fine. But if you're just doing it and then saying that you're planting seeds for no reason, just for future in the game, like there's no strategic. She's not narrowing her strategy down. She's just basically randomly doing things. Like if she sat and said, I'm going to say this about Nicole and does it, that's different. Just randomly spraying doesn't seem to help.
And it's more detrimental to the alliance right now than beneficial. I completely agree with that. And it kind of reminds me of this is a little bit different, but James from Big Brother 6 and Big Brother 7, even though he was part of like that Sovereign 6, he did try and, turn on them and get them all out at some point. So a little bit of a comparison there, but yeah, we'll see. I don't know if there's much payoff. So it'll be interesting to see if, like we were saying, I mean, Dani's in a good spot. So I don't know if this is going to come back and bite her, but it'll be interesting to see what happens with this alliance moving forward, because I don't think they're going to stick together throughout the remainder of the game. There's already a ton of cracks.
Oh, yeah, they're not at all. And I don't disagree that Dani is very smart. I think she's one of the smartest people in the house. But there's a difference in the ability to be smart and then make sound strategic decisions. Like she could have a perfect read on everybody in that house. But if her actions don't reflect that, then it's worth nothing, to me. That's my opinion, But yeah, so we'll do this real quick and then we'll move on here. How do I feel about Dani claiming to become the new Janelle, Queen of BB? Oh my goodness. Listen, I like Dani. I like her, but she's probably 4th or 5th on that totem pole. I do. I like her, but in her original season, Evil Dick is what made her get second place. She would have been gone a long time prior. And then, like we just said, in her Big Brother 13 season, she tried to make moves and did not succeed as well. As far as popularity, I'm sure she's up there. Would you agree she's up there in popularity?
Definitely, yeah. She's one of the more popular players. I mean, she came in as like a young adult in her first season and dominated competitions. Then she came back a little older and wiser and met her husband in the house. And the one thing I will applaud her for is she's always willing to kind of like make moves and not just kind of like sit back and, ride the waves. And whether that's good for her game or not, obviously that came back to bite her in 13. So I will applaud her for that, though, because she's just, not afraid to shake things up, which seems like a lot of players this season are a bit afraid of doing.
James Ryan's one of my favorite players of all time. And I was a fan of James when nobody was. I loved James from the beginning. There was a time for about 3 or 4 years where James Ryan, people did not like him. They hated him. They thought he was cocky, arrogant. They said he didn't treat his girlfriend right in the Big Brother 6, his original season. I've always been a huge fan of James Ryan. In fact, when I applied a few times, they asked me, they said, who's your favorite player? I said, James Ryan. So, but yeah, so Dani to me is being reckless. And then we come back to America's favorite player, Nicole Franzel. I'm going to say that every time. She says she sits there and does nothing. That's what she thinks she's doing in the game, which is the only thing that could probably be worse than what she's actually doing.
Right. I mean, yeah, she just doesn't have a good grasp on, like, I don't, like, where's Nicole getting these ideas from? I'm just so confused. Like, I don't know. I don't really understand her gameplay so far this season. It's just like, she's just like whining so much. Like, we've gotten like, you know, an emotional Nicole the first couple seasons, but like, this is just her on steroids. Like, it's crazy. Like, I don't know what happened.
It has to be pregame stuff. It has to be.
Her game is like, it's just so sporadic. I don't know how it's working out for her. It's just so messy and wishy-washy. But the crazy thing is, she seems to be in a good spot.
Yeah, it's insane. Like, I don't understand how it's working like that. All right, and then we get to we can't go through the episode without talking about this skincare routine Janelle's got going on. I mean, what is that?
It seemed, I thought this was going to turn into like a promo of some sort for like some skincare, but it took a weird turn, you know, talking about like vampire skincare thing. And then Ian scares her by saying she's thinking like she has like straight acid on her face just about. She's like, oh my God, I got to take this off. So that was a funny little scene, but yeah, the whole like vampire.
Ian was actually worried, I think. I think Ian was genuinely worried that she was putting legitimate acid on her face to get rid of the wrinkles. He's like, I don't know how I feel about that. That doesn't seem like a good idea to me. But he just sat there in his normal position, just rocking back and forth, letting her do it. I was just like,
right. And she had like a weird dark line saying it was like, real vampires use their own blood to do their skincare routine. I'm like, whoa, that just turned really dark quickly. But I like these little.
Get to where Ian was going to have to put some on, and I was like, this is just going to get even more uncomfortable. Like, none of this is good. You know,
it would truly be 2020 fashion if we see Ian Terry on national television doing a skincare routine with Janelle.
Yeah, with the vampire skincare routine, putting red all over. Oh man,
yeah.
Like, so it took Ian telling her that it was 3.6% acid for her to realize that it might not be great. It's not the fact that it's called the vampire cure or whatever. It's not the fact that it's acid, and it's not the fact that it's bright red and burns. It's just the fact that somebody with common sense told her, "Hey, that might not be good for you."
Right.
And she's like, oh, I'll take it off, I guess. Like, it's just, she needs more of those people in her life, I think. That tell her, no, let's not put that on your face here. Let's do something else, you know?
Right. And Ian's just like, she's getting nervous. She's like, oh my God, you're scaring me, Ian. I'm going to take it off. And Ian's like, oh, I'll stop talking. But you just got to love these little funny scenes. It's good for the show.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Look, I don't care what you say. Janelle will always be one of the most beautiful women to play on anything reality TV. I don't care. That's the hill I'm going to die on. And she could come in, if she plays again, she could come in at 75 years old. And I'm still picturing the 24-year-old Janelle that I watched when I was like 15. So anyway, but so we get to the veto competition. Tyler reaches in and he pulls Cody. So now we've got 2 competitive challenge beasts. Kaysar then picks Bayleigh, which, as we've already discussed, Bayleigh and Janelle had spoken, and Janelle's hopeful that Bayleigh will use the veto on her. So good news for Janelle that Bayleigh got picked. Janelle then picks Memphis. so like they said in the show, it's almost the worst lineup that you could have picked. You've got Tyler, Cody, and Memphis going against Kaysar and Janelle, essentially.
Right. It's the best thing for that majority of the house, like that big alliance. And I would say the wording you use, it's almost the worst thing for Janelle. The reason why it's not the absolute worst thing for Janelle is at least she has Bayleigh to potentially help her out if she wins the veto. But it is the absolute worst thing for Kaysar, where, you know, it's kind of just like stabbing the knife in his back as he picks Bayleigh and realizing she has no chance of using it on him. She's only going to use it either on Janelle or no one. So it was worst case scenario for Kaysar and not too much better for Janelle.
Right. And just before the veto, Dani corners Bayleigh in the pantry. And what was it that she wanted with Bayleigh? You want to go over that?
Yeah, so basically right before the veto, she's in the storage room with Dani's in the storage room with Bayleigh, and she just asks her straight up, like, what are you going to do with the veto? Are you going to keep noms the same? And of course, Bayleigh says yes, because as we've reiterated in the previous recaps, Big Brother 101, always say yes if someone asks you a question. Don't say no. There's just really no incentive to doing that. So Bayleigh says yes, even though she might consider other options. But this is just not a good social play again by Dani. And we saw it last week with Memphis basically telling him to put up Janelle. And obviously Memphis didn't take too kindly to that, being an alpha from Fort Lauderdale. And Bayleigh kind of reiterated the same feelings in the DR because she was like, I don't really feel comfortable being cornered by Dani. So yeah, just when you think Dani's having a great episode, she just kind of botches it a bit with that little conversation. She's kind of rubbing people the wrong way with these one-on-ones.
Right. So we get to the veto competition, and guess who we see?
Who do we see?
Christmas. Christmas makes her appearance in the episode, and she's not doing anything. She's the host. So Christmas is the host. And basically, do you want to go over exactly what the veto competition was, like what they had to do?
Sure. So it's similar to one they did in BB18. Basically there's cones and then there's like ice cream and cake, and you basically have to put the cake in the cones the cake matching with the cones. It's color coded, and each cone cannot have more than 3 blocks on it at a time. And you just have to match it. And the person who does it the fastest will move on. It was bracket style, and they randomly picked the people who did the first couple rounds. Yeah, they randomly picked them for the matchups. And then the person who moved on with the fastest time got an automatic bye into the final round. And then the 2 people who got the second and third best times but were moving on would I'm laughing at this, but they would face off right before the finals, and then the top 2 would face off to see who would win the veto. So yeah, it was basically, I mean, I feel like it was in a competition that didn't require too much skill other than like memory and hand-eye coordination. Like I feel like really anyone had a chance at winning this. So yeah, it was a fair competition.
Yeah, it's a fun one, but I hate the fact that they chose one of these knockout kind of competitions for this when Janelle and Kaysar are up, when they could have chosen like a guessing competition, like one of the classic ones where you have a bunch of jelly beans in a jar, you have a bunch of ants in a jar, and a bunch of like, I'm just going to make something like toy cars on a roadway, like a toy roadway, and guess the number of total things, right? And then whoever comes closest wins veto. I would have liked that much better. Instead, we get this competition where Janelle and Kaysar, spoiler alert, they're eliminated immediately. They get knocked out.
Right, and that was an unfortunate part of it, and it's a little bit tougher than you think because people, as we saw in this competition, like we saw Kaysar and Janelle kind of panic in the first round. They weren't really thinking, so it's one of those competitions where you just have to slow down your mind and think like, okay, blue goes with blue, yellow goes with yellow, and so on and so forth. So yeah, there's the mental aspect to it, but it was a fair competition. But yeah, I agree with you. I would have probably rather seen something else that wouldn't have knocked out Janelle and Kaysar immediately.
Yeah. And so Kaysar and Tyler, they go against each other. So they're on opposite sides. Kaysar's moving through this competition. Like this is built for him. He's moving. He's analytical. He thinks quickly, and he's moving these things. And he completely misses the fact that the base of each cupcake is a color as well. So he just basically randomly put the same color on each cupcake, did not have the base the same. So then he has to go back and redo it, and that gives Tyler a chance, and Tyler goes in and rings the buzzer, which how fast did Kaysar do that? Because Tyler's time was 39 seconds.
Right. And as Kaysar was talking about it and they were showing in the background as he was doing his DR, I'm like, he's just blowing right through this. Like, he's going to blow Tyler out of the water. And then we just see how the cones aren't matching with the colors. And that was gut-wrenching. But, yeah, props to Tyler. I mean, he rebounded quickly. I mean, if Kaysar got the cones right with the cake and the frosting, I mean, it would have been a blowout.
Yeah. So Tyler moves on. Then we've got Cody versus Bayleigh. I actually missed this. My connection, we've got that hurricane stuff that's moving through and the wind's coming in. So I actually didn't see the Cody versus Bayleigh or the Janelle versus Memphis. So do you want to go over that?
Sure. So Cody versus Bayleigh. Cody won pretty convincingly, I guess. I mean, Bayleigh just sort of had a mix up with the pieces, which is what happened to Kaysar in the previous round. So that's kind of proven to be multiple people's downfalls in this competition. And then Memphis versus Janelle, there's this huge controversy over if Memphis threw it because it looked like he was about to win, but he moved unnecessarily one of the cones to a different, or one of the cakes to a different cone. And everyone was wondering why he did that because it seemed like he was just intentionally throwing it. But Janelle,
so he had the colors matched and he moved it to a different cone?
So all he had to do was, I believe, bring the yellow over to the yellow and he would have been done, but he moved it over to the wrong one. And I'm sure we'll get into it if he actually threw it, but I personally think he just wasn't thinking. And he even said this in his DR. He's like, this competition isn't made for people with a mind like me. So he couldn't slow down like his mind and think about it. So I don't think he threw it, but nonetheless, he was able to rebound and Janelle panicked there. So yeah, we move on with Cody versus Memphis and next round, and Tyler basically got a first-round bye to put in the sports terms, and he automatically advanced to the final because he got the fastest time of the three remaining. So then we have Cody and Memphis facing off, and Cody just blows out the competition pretty easily. Memphis didn't really stand a chance, and then we're left with Tyler and Cody. I don't know if you want to take it from there.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Finish it up.
Yeah, and then Tyler and Cody, they didn't really spend too much time on this. Cody just steamrolls basically as he's been doing through the whole competition, easily wins the veto. And yeah, the power stays within that big 6-person alliance, which is what they won. And they had a textbook episode. Everything went their way.
I keep thinking at some point somebody outside that alliance is going to win. It's just not happening yet. And it's really, it's downing the season a little bit because we're not getting a lot of diversity of opinions. We're getting the same alliance doing whatever they want. So I'm waiting for that moment where somebody on the outside wins HOH or somebody on the outside wins a veto and just says, you know what, I don't have anything in this game anyway, so I'm just going to wreck everybody's game and I'm going to see if I could pick up some of the shambles.
Right. And as much as I love players like Tyler, and I don't really mind everyone in that 6-person faction, but, you know, the players I appreciate the most are the players who are able to overcome times of adversity in the game, and they just have all the power right now. So they're playing good games, which is frustrating to watch, but I also am holding out for a moment like what happened last season with the 6 shooters where there's just this like big blow up and fallout. So hopefully that happens soon.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and do here. The editors will regret if Christmas wins. Are we missing anything that they're not putting in the show? Are we? Am I not aware of game-changing moves that Christmas is making, or are you just saying that they'd wish they'd use whatever they had because she ends up winning? Because if she ends up winning this game this season, to me, is a disappointment. And what are they going to show? Like, they have nothing so far. So she's gone almost a month into the season and hasn't really done anything.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing she's got going for her is 2 straight weeks of getting the safety suite or benefiting from the safety suite. But yeah, like, I'm sure they'll do that storyline. Like, she was a minion of Paul's in Big Brother 19 and broke her foot, and she was able to come back from triumph and dominate her way to the finish in an all-star season. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be kind of like Casey in season 20 where they barely show her the first half, and it's like, oh God, she might actually win this. So they need to start showing her more.
Yeah, but Casey went on a run, though. Casey went on a run and won vetoes and HOHs and things like that. So maybe I mean, maybe if Christmas goes on around, I don't want to talk too much in the future because we're just making stuff up at that point.
Right.
But I mean, at this point, I'm like, there's nothing to show. She hasn't done anything. But yeah. Anyway, so.
But she had triplets. We'll get into that, but that's her big move.
We'll get into that nonsense that I'll never get 10 minutes of my life back after watching that.
Yeah, definitely seems like a time filler, but we'll get into it.
Yeah. So after the comp, in the I believe it's in the pantry. I can't remember. I think it's in the pantry. Dani, Christmas, Nicole, and are talking, and they basically are convinced Memphis threw this challenge. And like I said, I didn't see it, but hearing what he said, it sounds like it makes sense that they think that. but they're just convinced, right?
It was not a good look for him, but I fully trust what he was saying in the sense that like he just couldn't slow down and think. But it did genuinely look like he's thrown it, and you get Tyler saying like he's on Tyler's radar now, and Tyler has to keep an eye on him. Not sure if this was just for show, but Cody's even saying like, why don't we just put up Memphis and get this over with? So I don't know. It's not a good look for Memphis, and I feel like that alliance, they're going to be quick to turn on him if he keeps up these antics, I guess, if you will.
Right, and it goes back to the first week when second week when he did not want to nominate Janelle, and he was playing both sides. So that's in their heads now. As long as Janelle's in this game, anything he does that doesn't benefit them and could possibly help Janelle, even if by accident, he's doing it on purpose. And this is a consequence of him not being truly allegiant to his alliance.
Right. And it's just going to be so easy for them to point the finger. If the alliance decides to turn on each other, they can just use all this against Memphis and send him packing. Because really, yeah, he's done himself no favors these last couple of weeks. He should be fine moving forward, but socially he's in a tough spot.
Right. And then Janelle goes to Kaysar and says, basically, I should go and you should play. So do you think Janelle should go, or do you think Kaysar should go? Who has the better chance to make it far if they stay?
I mean, it'd be so easy to say Kaysar just because Janelle is just so threatening and so intimidating for being a 4-time player and a legend at comps. Problem is, people just understand how analytical and strategic Kaysar is, so it'd just be so easy the very next week to just send him packing right after Janelle if Janelle leaves this week. So I don't know if he can get that far because it seems like he really is having a tough time in there building relationships with people outside of Janelle. But Janelle at least has a little leverage if she stays because she is still going to be the biggest target if she remains in the house Thursday night. And she can leverage, as I said at the beginning, that relationship with Bayleigh. I mean, obviously, maybe they were friends pre-gaming or whatever. Doesn't matter. They're developing a rapport with each other in the house. And, her and Ian, they played together for a bit on 14, and they seem to be getting along well. I mean, they had that funny scene tonight. So she has a little bit of ammunition with her if she stays. And she has options, but it'd be tough for her to do anything. So I guess my answer is they're both going to have a tough time finding footing for whoever stays, but I feel like Janelle has more upside than Kaysar, in my opinion.
Yeah. I feel like if Janelle were to – well, I guess, guys, since we're discussing this, I guess we'll just go ahead and say that Cody chose not to use the veto. He left nominations the same. Since we're discussing this, we might as well just go ahead and let them know.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. So Cody won the veto. He chose not to use the veto. So it's hard for me because if Janelle were to stay, it to me says that she's built something with some people as far as trust with some people, a protection of some kind. Even if it's like she was talking about with Cody for 2 weeks, where she proposed to Cody, hey, or was it Tyler or Cody? I forgot.
So she proposed to Tyler initially on Sunday, the meat shield thing, and then Cody tonight.
Cody was tonight, where she said 2 weeks, I'll vote with you no matter what for 2 weeks. So if she were to stay, she has that 2 weeks basically of to do what she needs to do to get her roots in and move further in the game. So, but if Kaysar were to stay, like I said, he's very analytical, he's very strategic. So I'm iffy. It's a genuine 50-50 for me on who I think would make it farther. but I think I lean towards probably Kaysar. I think Kaysar. Okay. Now, if you say Kaysar from Big Brother 6 or 7 is playing this game, I say no way. No chance. But this is an older Kaysar, a smarter, wiser Kaysar, to where he has the same abilities to read people, but he doesn't have the same attitude and arrogance that he did when he was in BB6 and BB7. So I think I lean towards Kaysar personally.
Yeah. And I will say if Janelle stays, it could be something similar to what happened with Christy last season, where she's just telling the majority, like, use her, and she's fine with going up as a pawn, basically accepting, like, her chances of winning are not good. So we could definitely see something like Janelle just being put up as a pawn, and they finally, that alliance adopts, like, this whole meat shield strategy of she's always going to be the bigger target in front of us, so why not use her?
Right.
That's if she stays.
And then, I mean, Tyler, I got written down, Tyler, Enzo, and Cody are now on high alert with Memphis, thinking Memphis threw this challenge. So Memphis has found a way. So a couple weeks ago, he found a way to upset both sides of the house when he was HOA and had nominations. Now he has found a way to upset everybody that's in his alliance on both sides because he didn't win a veto or didn't try to win a veto or threw it that he didn't even try to throw. So he is finding new and inventive ways to make people not want him around.
And it's almost comical at this point with the way you described it, how he's basically made everyone mad with him in one way or another. But I don't know. Part of me just thinks, do you think there's like bigger fish to fry, or do you feel like Memphis is kind of painting a big target on his back in the near future?
I think he's going to start getting this look of, and I don't think this, I think he's going to start getting this look of he's a clown, he's a joke.
Yeah.
He's not a good player, and it could inadvertently work to his benefit to where they have him in. He doesn't really know what's going on. Everybody's like, okay, we've got 4, but we've actually got 5 because we have Memphis. Like, everybody will say that. Like, we have 3, but we've got 4 because we've got Memphis. And Memphis just votes and takes a side, and he's in that alliance for a week. Then the next one, they say, we've got 3, but we've got Memphis. That kind of thing, where they're like, kind of like the Fessy role from, I think it was last year or the year before. Fessy was
season 20.
Season 20.
2018. Yep.
Yeah, season 20. Where Fessy was like, he was in all these alliances, but, he's kind of like a big goof, good guy, just not the best game player. I kind of feel like he's getting that. He's going to be put in that position. And I hate that because I like Memphis. I thought Memphis was going to be a really good player.
And it'll be interesting to see if Memphis accepts this role that you're kind of describing for him, because we all know him as an alpha. So I feel like that's probably the best route for him to take is what you describe. But he's probably not going to take too kindly to that. I don't like people telling me what to do. This is my game.
I mean, he is just every week, like Fessy every week in his season voted wrong.
Who flipped? That was his classic line. Who flipped? Yeah,
but he went 8 weeks, I think, without voting correctly one time. So even when there were obvious targets,
right.
I just feel like Memphis is heading down that road to where he's never going to get the vote right. He's going to be on all these alliances, but nobody really cares. He's just used as a number. He gets to like final 4, final 3, and then they just cut him loose, But
definitely, I can see that.
Yeah, it's amazing how a social game is just so bad. But yeah, so they're in there talking. Speaking of Enzo, smooth. Like, I talked to Rachel on Thursday, and she said that Enzo is not necessarily smooth. He's just there, and he jokes around a lot. And to me, that's smooth. Like, if he's having a conversation with you talking game, and you're just happy to be around him and enjoying it, that's smooth.
Right, and really, I mean, he's got, I would say, everyone wrapped around his finger besides Dani at this point. And I won't divulge too much in the live feeds, but there was this quick clip on YouTube of him playing chess with Davon, and he was just literally copying all of Davon's moves, and it made her laugh. So he's really just the things you don't even think he can make comical, he makes just hilarious. So this is all going to work to his benefit. I could see another deep run in the Meow Meow's Big Brother career.
Yeah, and since we're on the Meow Meow, we had a rather large segment with the Meow Meow and Christmas, which, okay.
I didn't need to see all that, but
yeah, Big Brother I know they have these cheesy costumes, these cheesy punishments, and things like that. This might be the dumbest punishment and most annoying waste of my time that I have ever gone through in Big Brother.
I mean, Enzo had some funny lines like, "You're the mom. You go take care of the kids. I'm just going to watch the game with the fellas." Or we're going to have to go on Maury to figure out who the father is to some of these guys. But I didn't need to see all that, if I'm being honest.
Like, it was too long. It was far too long. And then they kept adding more. They kept adding more and more stars. I'm just like,
right.
Adding more stars.
I just wish, and especially the timing of it too, at the end of the episode, like they could have put that maybe towards the beginning, because I just want to watch a gameplay right before the veto meeting. But
yeah, we had a lot of gameplay in this episode where there's people moving around, people trying to make moves, Janelle and Kaysar trying to find a way to stay. And instead, for an entire segment from almost commercial to commercial, I had to look at Christmas, who, again, another appearance by Christmas, not contributing anything to the game. Like,
right.
Every time I see her, it's like for a clip here that has no effect on the game. She was the host of the veto, and now she's carrying around a baby star pillow that she's forced to do because somebody else chose to save her. So I could have lived without it, just being honest, you know?
Yep. I agree. It's a little ridiculous.
Yeah, the only thing that saved that was Enzo. Enzo is being funny, and he's the only thing that saved that segment. Enzo can save any segment.
He steals every scene. I agree with that completely.
Yeah, it's just I would, if I could hang out with anybody from Big Brother's history, everybody, right? I would probably want to go to the bar with Enzo.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I feel like someone like Johnny Mac would also be pretty cool to go to the bar with. But Enzo and Johnny Mac, yeah.
Now, Enzo's head and shoulders above Johnny Mac, to me. But anyway, that's
fair.
That's beside the point. That's just my opinion. But yeah, so like we said earlier, Janelle goes up to Cody and talks with him. And it's basically like, look, I'll vote any way you want to vote if you're able to save me. Because Janelle's got a good read on this house. She knows where the alliances are.
And I understand the pitch she was giving. I thought it wasn't too bad. Like, am I a fan of the way she started? Like, oh, I didn't come in just to get voted out 3 weeks into the All-Star house. Like, no, love Johnny Mac. There we go. I love the support for him in the chat. But listen, no one came in. Like, do you think Keisha came into the Big Brother house to get voted out first after waiting 12 years? Do you think Nicole came back 1 year later? Like, I don't know. That just whole argument is kind of a moot point to me. And the whole thing about voting with Cody for 2 weeks, that makes sense, definitely. But, I mean, Cody's just probably realizing, like, I already have the numbers. Like, I'm already in, like, multiple alliances with, like, involving 6 to 9 people. So, I don't know. It doesn't have much of a benefit for Janelle, but she was just kind of like, you know, her fingers are kind of like trembling from the cliff. So she's just kind of got to throw anything out there and see if anything sticks.
Yeah, so I think, did I see this? Is this when they're saying her favorite Survivor player is Boston Rob? Is that when this came up?
I think I saw a clip on Russell's Instagram. I think Enzo said he partied with Russ way back in the day, and then I think Janelle also said something. But I know what clip you're talking about, Cam. I just don't remember a lot of it.
Oh, I did see that. Enzo and yeah, you're right. I saw that on Twitter. Russell tweeted that. I skimmed by it. I didn't see a whole lot about it. Yeah, Russell said they partied with Russell corrected him. Russell said they partied with him because they said Russell came. Enzo said Russell came and partied with me, and Russell corrected it and said, no, they came and partied with me. Like,
right.
They just trying to be the main focus of attention. But yeah, that's what I saw was the Rob and Parv thing. And then Russell on Twitter, I saw that. I saw what he was talking about there. Yeah.
But yeah, it was a decent pitch by Janelle. And, you know, like I said, she's just got to throw gum at the wall and hope it sticks. But from Cody's perspective, I feel like that's an easy deal to turn down. But
you did.
Gotta try.
Yeah, I did see that on the Patreon page. I did. I think I liked it, or I might have commented on it. I don't know. We got so many posts going on every day in there. Sometimes I get a little bit lost. But yeah. Okay. So the last thing that I have in this episode is the veto was not used. Janelle and Kaysar on the block. One of them's going home. We're all hoping and praying for production interference to make something up and keep one of them or keep them both. Which
Grodner, if you're listening to this podcast, do what you've done for many years and rig it.
Right. Put a coup d'etat in Janelle's cereal.
Pendant of protection from Paul from Hex.
There was actually a picture that I saw where she was doing a puzzle. Janelle was doing a puzzle in like one of the side rooms, and then somebody inserted a golden power of Veto, and it put on top of it, and it said Janelle completed this puzzle, and a golden power of Veto fell out of the ceiling for her. I was like, look, I never more wanted an overt just production interference fixing this game than I do right now for Janelle to stay in this game. But.
Well, and they got to realize, too, I mean, this is kind of the cliche, but if Janelle and Kaysar go, their ratings are probably going to plummet. So, we're looking at you, Grodner. All eyes are on you. I'll throw them a bone.
She, I think she sent on her Instagram or on her Twitter or something, she posted, somebody sent her a message that said, please, Grodner, somebody that knows her, like, please, Grodner or Grod, do something to save Janelle. And Allison Grodner replied with, we need Janelle safe. Got it. On it. About to fix it. Like, it's just like messaging. That was fun. We laughed about that. But the last thing, as far as the recap is concerned, that I had is Cody completely butchered a cliche saying. Did you hear that? He said, we're trying to get rid of Janelle, but Janelle is the devil we know. And he said that she could be lesser than the devil that we don't know, right? That's how it goes. The devil we know isn't as bad as the devil we don't know. He said she's the devil we know, which is could be better than a snake in the grass. It's just like, you're just putting two things together now. Like you're just making things up. You're just blending it how you feel you want to blend it, Right. But I kind of laughed out loud when I heard that, so I just wrote it down.
No, that's funny. Yeah, I heard that, but I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, it was Kat. That's who it was. It was Kat. She posted on her Twitter. Right. Kim, you are on top of things. You are on top of it. All right. Yeah. So guys, that's our recap. Just a couple housekeeping things. First is if you guys would like to talk Survivor, talk Big Brother, talk to Russell Hantz, talk to any of us, we have a great Patreon group that you can join for as little as $5. You can join. You can get on there. You can do Facebook Lives with us, talk about topics. We do all kinds of things on there. We do movie reviews. We do food reviews. We do top 10s. We do top 10s on anything that you want. We did top 10 movies. We did top 10 food items. We've done a whole bunch of stuff. We interact. We've got Survivor online games. We've got an org game going right now. That's going to be, I think, 4 weeks or 5 weeks long. They're in week 2, I believe. And we're going to have episodes on that come out. We have a Survivor mini that is going to be on the 29th, which is where if you sign up to become a patron, you can join that. It's on a Saturday. It's only 6 or 7 hours long. I say only, but 6 or 7 hours long. So block out the day. But if you're a patron, you can come do it. You can sign up. It's a lot of fun. We've had a couple of them already. And yes, Kim, we do have a Survivor cruise that last I heard, we have 40 rooms booked. Complete. Oh, wow. 40 rooms of just the patrons. That doesn't include Russell and the people he's bringing, the former Survivor, the former Survivor players. We have 3 of them coming on the cruise, already confirmed. And all you have to do is just become a patron for $5 a month. And then you can get tickets. Well, you have to pay for the tickets, but you get tickets to a cruise and you get to hang out with Russell Hantz and other Survivor players. It's a good thing. But yeah, and then if you guys also want to join and do things like David and I do, where you get on here, you talk about Big Brother, you talk about Survivor, you put your opinions out there, send us in videos to the page, become a patron, let us know that you want to join and you want to contribute content. We are actively looking for people to come help us out and do these kinds of things. So if you think you can do it better than me and David, then come on in and try it out.
Can't hurt, yeah.
Yeah. And then lastly, on Thursdays, we have our Surviving Big Brother with Russell Hantz, who is going to have a former Big Brother player on every Thursday. First week was Cliff Hogg. Second week, it was Rachel Riley. Am I missing one? Cliff Hogg, Rachel Riley. And yeah, that's it. That was 2. Yeah. And then I'm not sure if they've confirmed for sure who's tomorrow, so it'll be a surprise, but we will have one tomorrow. And I think that's everything. Did I miss anything? I know I normally plug a couple of things here. I feel like I'm missing one.
I feel like you covered all of them. I could be wrong though.
Yeah, I'm probably missing something here. Anyway, but yeah, guys, come join the Patreon page as little as $5 a month. We have different perks, different levels. If you want to pay a little bit more, Russell will review audition tapes if you're a certain level. If you send them in to him, he'll review them. He'll go over with you what you think you should do better. But yeah, you guys take care. Watch the episode tomorrow. Tune in tomorrow to Surviving Big Brother. Russell is doing it from Reno, Nevada. He is going to be at a casino, and he's doing a little vacation trip, but he's going to be doing it from Reno. So you guys tune in tomorrow, and then, of course, we'll be back Sunday. We'll be back Wednesday, and we'll be talking Big Brother all season long. You guys take care.
All right. We'll see you guys Sunday.